Working on the Passat finally again now today. Ended up picking up a new battery, put a new cabin filter in it. And instead of ordering the little tool, I just ended up making something out of a couple little pieces of metal and making a little tool for compressing the cam chain tensioner. And it actually works. Got slop in the chain, so that's good. Not sure why, but the guy I bought this from tore us apart and did not have it at top dead center. You either should be at top dead center, or I think it's 30 degrees past, which should bring it to the pistons being down. Not sure if you can see this, but right here, there's that little arrow. And if you look on the cam right there, near but past the tip of my finger, there's a little like notch, and that's the timing mark for this cam. And this one, this is the one he's taking apart. This one isn't lined up, so either this cam jump timing a little bit. Hopefully nothing's wrong, but we'll see, I guess. So I'm thinking it probably happened after he took it apart, but we'll see. I gotta pull this cam anyways, clean up this surface rust on it, and so yeah. But get this cam chain tensioner pulled out and move from there. So fast forward a little bit, I've determined I gotta put the car in service position. Thought I could take and sneak by and not have to do this to get that timing chain tensioner out, but because it's the front one, you can't kind of get it to give you enough room to actually sneak it out. So we're gonna have to take the front end off and then end up taking the timing belt off and all that fun stuff. So yeah. So to get this front bumper cover off, you got to take, there's supposed to be 4 screws in both sides on the wheel wells. And those were, I believe it was this size, T25. There should be 4 of those in each wheel well. Then there's along the top here, after you pull it, you got 2 on these corners. That'll be about right here. And I can show you I can show you later too when I put things back together. That'll be, those will be T30. Yeah, T30. There'll be 1 on each side of the grill at the top. The grill comes out, and then there's along the bottom here. There's 4, I believe it was, of those T30s that comes out. You gotta take out. And then, I believe, after you got to disconnect your fog lights if you have them, and your corner marker lights, and the bumper cover just got to get yanked off the front. Then there's this metal subframe sub bumper that comes off, and that's just 18 millimeter, 2 18 millimeter bolts. with nuts. And then, yeah. Now I'm working on these, which are, these are a T. Something. T45 for these bumper horns. So my other camera died, but I did end up getting the old timing chain tensioner out. This is the little tool that I ended up making. If you buy one of these, a new one, they're supposed to come with it. So I don't know if the guy that I bought the car from, who already had this one, lost it, took it off, was going to use it to compress this one and lost it, or what. But I don't know, I made it. Cost me, I don't know, roughly like $2 in material probably. The 36-inch piece of this metal rod that I used was $3, and then the bolt was like $1, and a couple nuts was 20 cents a piece, so it's only a couple bucks into it. But if you look at these things, one thing I always want to watch, it might be, your tensioner might be good, but if this little screen thing here is missing, it's short-lived after that, because this is actually a little filter for the tensioner itself to keep any particulate that might be in your oil out. Like this one is brand new, so it's got the screen there. And this one, screen looks kind of dirty, but it's also pushed in. It's kind of hard to tell. But and then these shoes, which are replaceable, you can get those for fairly cheap. They usually come. Those also usually come with the tool to take and compress the tensioner. So, but yeah. So there's a nice new one. We go over here. End up having to put the car in service position. I went kind of a little bit, I guess, a step further just to make it easier. If you take there's little clips right here that you can pop out that hold the AC compressor or condenser on. And if you take those off, you can flip it and unplug a couple wires. You can flip the AC condenser over there and unplug the rest of the wires that are, make sure nothing's connected anymore. You can take this whole front core support off, and then you can get access to everything. In order to get enough room, what I ended up doing is I opened this up, and you could probably do it now that looking at it without taking everything off the front, but it was a little bit easier. Is I took these two nuts here off that hold this little shield on behind this cam wheel, and then there's 2 or 3 other bolts, I believe, or 2 or 3 other bolts that are 10 millimeter that you take off, and then I was able to slide this up and get enough room where I could sneak the tensioner and the cam out of there. So there's the cam. Now it's not the best spot to set it, but I gotta get that cleaned up and then change the seal down on that end by the little tone wheel or signal wheel, I guess. So yeah, probably get this old gasket out there, put the new one in, get the new one kind of set in there and ready to go. And yeah, so check back in a little later. So the front crank bolt on these is just a 15/16 12 point. So got the 3 plugs in on this head, so we'll see if the compression's changed now. Yep. Well, I'll say that's changed. I used to be able to turn that over with one hand, so I'm gonna say this is probably, that's a good sign. Let's bring this back up to top dead center here, wherever the mark went. So that should be pretty close. Oh, there it is. There it is. But I put the other plugs in. that's like kind of buttoned up. Put the front nose back on. You gotta find or get another one of those little spring clips off radiator hoses. Because the guy I bought it from apparently lost them. So yeah, woohoo! A little piece of hose like this works really good for putting plugs in. If your spark plug socket like mine, the little rubber grommet that's in it is worn out. So I got a little bit done now since last turned on the camera here. It's a following morning from, well, the last couple of clips you see. Got a little bit done here, so I got the timing covers back on, the clutch fan back on with its little idler pulley. Got to put the belt back on yet. Pulled the spark plugs are all loose in their cylinders, so I started pulling those out and was gonna clean them. This will focus. There it is. You got the, I'd say, fancy plugs. They actually look pretty clean, besides the little bit of oil down here on the end. So I'm gonna probably clean these up, put them back in. I think I'm just gonna do this head over here first and just kind of see how the compression changes. Make sure nothing's actually wrong with the head. I don't think there is, but just kind of a quick, easy way to check. So I'll check back in. Alright, so I'm back working on the car now this afternoon. We got the new cam cap seal plug thing for the back of this cam here. Let's see. Got the coils all except for the one where I got my 2x4 holding the hood up. Coils put back in on the passenger side. Let's see. We got some new bulbs for these front marker lights, and say this one at least looks like it's kind of burnt out, so figured they're easier to change now. Let's see. One thing I'll say about these cams, if you're wondering if your cams are in time, there should be 16 rollers between the two timing notches. And on this side, the timing notches line up with a tooth, and so you go to the outside of that tooth on both cams, and you should have 16 rollers. On the passenger side head, apparently the timing mark lines up on the valley between two teeth, at least on one of the cams, and so then you go to that valley. But for this side, it's 16 rollers to the outside of each timing mark. So that's that. For reinstalling the valve cover gasket, put a little bit of RTV down in the corners on here and in the back, and put the valve cover gasket on. All these cam cap bolts are torqued to 7 foot-pounds, which I think, if I remember right, it's 84 inch-pounds. Same with the timing belt, or the timing chain tensioner. The valve cover nuts that hold the valve cover down are pretty sure all the same as that 7 foot-pounds. But yeah, you get the hood latch put back on, those bulbs changed, maybe throw the bumper back on. This is the other thing. This is the closest thing I got for temporary, because the guy that I got the car from lost the little spring clips that are supposed to hold these coolant hoses on. So this 1.5" C-clip fits, and actually fits like it feels like it might lock in there like it's supposed to. So gonna give that a shot. I probably will still get the right spring clip, but for now that'll at least let me make sure the car runs and see how things work. So yeah, check back in a little bit. Well, everyone, if you made it this far in the video, we're making progress. Got the coolant tank in. I don't have it screwed down yet, but there's a sensor on the bottom got plugged in. Got this PCV, I guess, hose, or crankcase vent hose hooked up. It Y's in back there with the one on for this valve cover. Plugs are all connected to their wires and their coils. I don't think I got some like mass airflow, or there's a sensor over there for the air box, I believe, that's gotta get plugged in. I gotta go run through all my plugs again, make sure everything's hooked up. But I think all I got left is put the air box back in. I gotta drain the old oil out of it, and there's oil in it. There's no coolant in it right now, so I'll have to put coolant in, put the air box back on, put this little shroud back on, hook the battery up, and cross my fingers and toes. And it does appear that little C-clip I got at the hardware store will at least work temporarily. I might run a piece of tape around it because it's not super tight, but it actually locks the hose on. The hose doesn't move, so that's what I needed. But yeah, not too bad. I got one vacuum line here that I don't really know where it goes, so I'll have to figure that out, but that shouldn't be too bad. So, I guess I'll see how far I get before I check in again. Well, this is the very first test time. I'm going to go grab the key. Battery's hooked up. I got some coolant in it. I haven't changed the oil yet, but there's oil in it. Everything's hooked up except for this one vacuum line that I haven't found where it goes yet, so I'll have to figure that out yet, but I'm curious. So we're going to see if this thing will fire. Fingers crossed. As you saw, guys, in that last clip there, car does run now. I gotta change the oil on it now. See how terribly gunky this oil is. Put fresh oil in it, probably drive around a little bit, make sure the coolant stopped off, and I guess we'll see. I know there's one flex pipe in the exhaust right before the cat on the driver's side. It looks like it's all torn up, and that oxygen sensor on that side is also throwing a code. But yeah, and I found out where that little vacuum line went. There's a vacuum reservoir in this fender well on the driver's side, so I got that connected with the blue tube that was with the car. So yeah, I guess we'll see where it goes, but we got that figured out now. So catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed this.